When the divorce papers were finally signed, I thought I would feel relief. After all, the years of shouting, the cold silences, the countless nights spent lying awake beside someone who no longer loved me, it was all over. But instead of relief, I felt hollow. The house seemed emptier than ever, even though I still lived in the same place. The laughter that used to echo in the living room had long vanished. My marriage had collapsed, and with it, the sense of who I was seemed to crumble too. I was no longer Emily the wife. I was just Emily, alone. But I wasn't truly alone, because my son Daniel was still there. The night my ex-husband left for good, I sat at the kitchen table staring at an untouched cup of tea. My hands trembled, not because of the quiet, but because of the memories that wouldn't stop replaying. Every argument, every slammed door, every broken promise. I didn't hear Daniel come in until he placed his hand gently on my shoulder. "Mom," he whispered. I looked up, forcing a smile. "Hey, sweetheart. You should be asleep." "I couldn't," he said, sliding into the chair beside me. His eyes, those same hazel eyes he'd had since birth, studied me carefully, as if he was afraid I might shatter right there in front of him. Without saying another word, he reached out and took my hand. And for the first time that day, I let the tears fall. He didn't try to stop me. He didn't say it would be okay. He just sat there, holding my hand in silence. Sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. The days that followed were heavy. Divorce isn't just about two people separating. It's about dismantling an entire life you built together. I found myself staring at the dining table, remembering the dinners we used to share. I'd walk into the bedroom and still half expect to hear his voice. Daniel noticed everything. He was 23 at the time, old enough to understand but still young enough to believe in hope. He began doing little things for me, making coffee in the mornings, tidying up the house, even leaving sticky notes on the fridge that said things like, "You're stronger than you think, Mom." One day, he came home with 2 tickets in his hand. "We're going hiking this weekend," he said firmly. I blinked at him. "Hiking? Daniel, I can't. I haven't done that in years." "Exactly," he grinned. "You need it. Fresh air, new views. Trust me." And so, against my hesitation, I went. The hike wasn't easy. My legs ached, my breathing felt uneven, and at one point I nearly turned back. But Daniel stayed beside me, encouraging me with every step. When we finally reached the top of the trail, the view stretched endlessly before us. The city skyline in the distance, the trees glowing under the afternoon sun. I stood there in awe, tears forming in my eyes. Not because of the beauty alone, but because I had almost forgotten what it felt like to live. Daniel nudged me gently. "See? There's still so much waiting for you, Mom. This isn't the end. It's just a new chapter." That night, as we drove home, I realized something profound. Healing wasn't going to come all at once. But with Daniel beside me, guiding me, reminding me of life's little joys, I would get there. Over the next few months, Daniel became my anchor. He invited me to join him for jogs at the park, convinced me to try new recipes with him, and even signed us up for a painting class. I laughed more in those months than I had in years. Of course, the pain didn't vanish overnight. There were still nights when I lay awake, questioning my worth, wondering if I had failed as a wife, as a woman. But every time I stumbled, Daniel was there to remind me that failure didn't define me. One evening, while washing dishes together, I asked him, "Do you ever feel like I ruined things for you? That the divorce broke not just me, but us?" He paused, setting a plate aside. Then he looked at me with a seriousness that made my chest tighten. "Mom," he said softly, "you gave me everything you could. You taught me love, even when love wasn't given back to you. You showed me strength, even when you didn't feel strong. If anything, you didn't ruin me. You prepared me. And now it's my turn to help you." I couldn't hold back the tears. But this time, they weren't tears of grief. They were tears of gratitude. A year later, I was no longer the same woman who sat trembling at the kitchen table. I had rebuilt myself, piece by piece. I had taken a new job, made new friends, and even started traveling again. But none of it would have been possible without Daniel. On his birthday, I handed him a letter I had written. It wasn't long, just a few pages, but it held every ounce of my heart. It said, "You were my son, but you also became my savior. When I thought I had nothing left, you reminded me that I still had love, laughter, and hope. I will never forget how you helped me heal, not as a child, but as a man who stood by his mother when she needed him most. Thank you, Daniel, for being you." He read it quietly, then pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "Always, Mom," he whispered. "Always." Divorce had threatened to break me. It had stolen years of joy, chipped away at my confidence, and left me standing in the ruins of what I thought was forever. But healing came, not through time alone, not through distractions, but through love. The pure, unwavering love of a son who refused to let his mother fall apart. Today, when people ask me how I managed to move forward, I tell them the truth. I didn't do it alone. I healed because my son held my hand when I couldn't hold myself together. And in that bond, I discovered something more powerful than any heartbreak: the unshakable strength of family.